because sometimes when we have someone literally over our shoulders, we behave differently. We feel watched. And when we feel watched, we will change our behavior, and it's not conscious. It's just how we are as human beings. So what I like about your idea, so it's an expansion of my idea and then yours, is why don't we ask them to just record their screen? And there's this, if people are listening and looking for something really simple and they don't want to install Skype, for example, there is a software you can put on Chrome browser called Loom, Loom I think it's loom.com. It's free. And what you can do is you can video record your browser as you're browsing. And you can also talk as you do it if you want. I use it all the time to try and demonstrate to people, oh, here's a problem there, or you need to fix this. Right. But for what we're talking about here, just give someone a gift card, $50 or whatever it is. Ask them, give them an assignment. You might say to them, I want you to buy something you want, but before you do that, will you walk around my store a bit? And will you tell me any areas where you're like, I don't quite get what you mean there, or I want to go here, but I don't understand how to get there. Right. And maybe if they're willing to kind of narrate through the video in the places where they're confused, or if they aren't comfortable doing that, just giving you a write-up afterward of, hey, this is kind of where I got stuck, or I didn't quite get this, or in the checkout process, it wasn't clear to me if you're going to charge for shipping or not. I mean, this is like, it's a rich field of information that you can get just by asking someone to record their screen and go buy a product in exchange for some, a gift card. It's a great idea. I love it.
I love it too. I think it's, we're always talking about get to know your customers, and I really love that you brought this up, because what better way than to actually see them use your site and challenge the assumptions that you made, right? Okay, so we talked about, it sounds like the home page really is the focus here, right? So it's the one page that's visited by pretty much everyone who's coming to your site. I think there's a lot you can do with your product page and blah, blah, blah. But, it's going back to that Amazon example as a guideline. We've talked about the header. We've talked about sort of the content and simplifying that. I've heard a lot of stuff about website speed, because as we all know, Amazon spends a ton of money. I think Google does as well, to make sure that it loads very quickly. Do you see this as an area as well which small businesses should focus on and try to improve?
100%. And before I go there, I will say, like, on a personal note, a few years ago, when website speed started becoming a bigger topic, at least in my realm, I was annoyed. I'm like, you know what? I just want to make stuff look good. And now you're telling me the other thing I need to add to my list and making sure that it doesn't overly impact the site load speed. But over time, I've learned so much about this, and I've observed my own browsing behavior habits. And here's what people need to know. So in 2016, which honestly, Shahram, in this day and age is like centuries ago, right? But Google did a bunch of research that showed that when someone's on their phone and they go to your website, 53% of people who go there, and if your site takes longer than 3 seconds to load, they will leave. 3 seconds. And there are people, I've helped on websites where I've come in and the load time is 9 seconds or 16 seconds. And someone hears that, and in our brains, it doesn't sound like much. And it is forever when you're trying to wait for a website to load.
Especially on your phone.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. And I think part of why it's such a big deal on our phone is because we hold this device really closely to our faces. Like, we're engaged in it on a really physical level more than we are on our desktop. And also, for whatever reason, I've noticed I personally am more impatient on my phone than I am on the desktop. I don't know what that's about, but I am. So the website speed, huge deal. And there's a big tip that I want to give people when thinking about their website speed that can help. And it's going to help them on their homepage. It's going to help with website speed. Okay. Right. And it's also going to help with usability and relevance for people. And it's this, you go to a lot of sites, whether it's e-commerce or otherwise, but especially e-commerce, and at the top of the homepage, there is a carousel. Do you know what I mean by that? Where like they're rotating 5 different images. Let me tell you, those things are some of the biggest bloat makers that are out there when it comes to website
High
speed.
five.
Yeah, virtual high five.
We're on a mission to kill those as well. So yes.
Thank you. And I want to speak to it for 2 things. First of all, they're killing your speed, and there's a couple reasons why. One is the script that loads these in and of itself tends to be clunky and bloated, and that's just adding to your overall site weight. 2, a lot of times the images aren't optimized. They're these huge, like wide width images, all adding up to be like, I saw one the other day that was 5 megabytes worth of images in a carousel. It doesn't sound like much. It's crazy amount of.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. Let's think about it from the point of view of the people who come to visit our site. A lot of them will not stop and read those carousels. Like their attention is not going to stay long enough to see what it rotates through. And in a way, I think it indicates to people that we do not have a lot of confidence in our focus and our message and our positioning. And I think the carousels end up being these kind of compromises that come out of the marketing department because everyone wants to have their message be at the top of the homepage. And so the carousel becomes this, okay, I'll make everyone happy.
Right.
But you cannot be everything to everyone.
I think with the carousels, there's quite a few people who are guilty of doing it, I think, just because everyone else is doing it. I think there's a lot of like Me Too-ism going out there when maybe it's like you need to be a little bit more deliberate about the choices you make on your own website. Just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's one of my pet peeve type rants is that, look, just because someone else is doing something on their website does not mean A, it was a good decision, or B, at least it's not a good decision for your unique market, your unique audience. You know, don't just copycat other people's websites and the features they have on it. It's not a great idea.